And you're welcome back. You're watching the Johnny channel. This is the Pulse. This afternoon, 2 persons have filed their nomination papers as the New Patriotic Party's presidential race heats up former Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Ephraim Akoto, and former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko successfully filed their nominations today to bring to the number 4 of the candidates who have already submitted their forms. Former Trades Industry Minister Alan Kojo is in the race. We have Vice President Dr. Mahama, who was the second to file last week. And as you may know, 10 persons actually picked up the forms to contest for the flag bearership race of the governing party. But is the Vice President likely to abuse incumbency, as some are already raising? And that's a question that we'll be seeking some answers to later on the show. Earlier, though, of course, one aspirant was turned away by the Elections Committee. That's, of course, the man that we're referring to, who's been in the race for a very, very long time. But it's unfortunate that he's being turned away. We understand a number of the issues with Mr. Preko's forms are being reformed. So let's get some update briefly before I get in studio with my guest. Samuel Mbura is at the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party, joining us right now. Sami, what transpired earlier today, and what can you report about this ongoing filing of nominations, and why was Mr. Preko turned away?
All right, so today we've had 3 aspirants filing their nominations. They include the former Energy Minister, Boakye Agyarko. We also had the former Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Ephraim Akoto, coming with his team to file the nomination. And then the third person being Dr. Konedu Apreko, whom we know is going for his the third term in this presidential race in the governing New Patriotic Party. Initially, he was actually the first person to arrive at the party office to file his nomination, but his forms were not complete. So the Elections Committee requested that he goes back to get all those documents intact and then return and resubmit. So he has successfully done that, and he has gone through the entire process. I engaged him just a couple of minutes ago to find out what actually transpired, and he said, there was a missing document that they requested that he attaches to the form in which he has done. It wasn't anything serious. So, Blessed, as we speak now, we have 3 filing nominations today, whom I mentioned earlier, but in total, we have 5 of them. We know the former Trades and Industry Minister, Kojo Alanchemanten, was the first person to file his nomination, followed by the Vice President, Dr. Mahama, and the third person being Dr. Akoto Ephraim, followed by the former Energy Minister, Boakye Agyarko, and the 5th one being Dr. Konedu Apreko. So there are now 5 who have successfully filed their nomination, remaining 6. I'm told 11 actually picked the forms to contest the NPP presidential race. So at the moment, the party office is back to normal because all the supporters have dispersed, and the election committee too is also wrapping up its work to close for the day. We are not expecting any aspirants to come and file nomination today.
Okay, Sami, I was about asking about the total number that picked up the forms, 10 in all. But yes, 11 as we're picking up. But now you only have 5. Do we have any indication as to whether or not the rest will also pick up? Because that will have an implication, a constitutional implication for the NPP.
Yeah, so what it means is that per the conventions, the electoral conventions of the party, if the candidates exceed 5, that's where they'll have the Super Delegates Conference. So for now, we have 5, leaving 6. So meaning even if one person comes to file the nomination, then the Super Delegates Conference will definitely come off. So at the moment, we can't tell if the remaining 6 will file their nominations or not, though they have picked forms. I engaged the Director of Elections, Evans Nemako, earlier to find out from him whether they have gotten indication from the remaining whether they will come to file or not. He says they've not gotten that. But the nominations are still opened till the 24th of June. So blessed, we have about a week to go, and we are still pitching camp to see how the developments will go.
We are your election headquarters, and we'll keep monitoring the nominations as they unfold. But for now, 5 in all. Samuel Mbua, my colleague, joining us from the headquarters of the NPP. And in fact, one man was there when his candidate or preferred candidate filed the nominations. I'm talking about Honorable Kenwood Noah. So it's the former Volta Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, rooting for Dr. Akoto Ephraim. Thank you for joining us. We'll be coming to you shortly. Professor Seidu Alidu is the head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, joining the conversation. And, of course, we'll be going on as we have more rank and file of the party joining us. But thank you, sir, for spending some time with us again. Initially, you were not done with the process, so you were not too confident at that time that your candidate or your preferred candidate will go through. Now, he succeeded with the nomination. So how does that make you feel that he's part of the first 5 to have done that?
Yeah, that is very encouraging and refreshing too, because the requirements are a bit stringent, and having, fulfilled all the requirements, that alone is encouraging. Give us hope.
Hope, you say. But you've seen the names so far.
Yeah.
There is Alan Chermatin, who's been long waiting in the line to become president. Then we have also the vice president, for instance, joining the race. You saw the crowd, the mammoth gathering.
That is the numbers game.
Yes, the numbers game, indeed.
Yeah.
That should scare you to say, I won't follow Dr. Ephraim anymore. I'll just
the race
join.
Is neither for the swift nor the strong. At this stage, we are looking at targets.
Okay.
And that target is the delegates. We haven't gotten to the multipliers yet.
No,
we shall be getting
but
to
you
those
saw the
numbers.
You saw the numbers at the headquarters.
Are not, for us, the veterans, it is not scary.
Really?
Of course, yes. Because if you bring 1,000 people and not even one of them have would cast a vote.
Right.
We are not scared by that. We'll get to the numbers, when the time is due. In the fullness of times, we'll be talking about numbers. For now, our target is the delegates. And our delegates, we know their characteristics. They are not even people who will come in the open to, shout for you when you are just...
So nothing to worry about?
We are not worried about that.
Just look at the names that were around when, of course, the vice president decided to pick up his phone. And no need, I'm not fixated on him because of any particular reason, but because of the fact that you're saying, well, these are some of the people who don't even have a voting right. But the MPs have a voting right. For instance, we had about 120 MPs have declared support for the vice president. So the numbers are there, isn't it?
They form just a fraction of those who are going to cast their votes. And we have seen all of that in the past. And it's not about the first time. We are seeing people being whipped into line, to do the kind of things we are saying. We are saying the decision lies with the delegates. And at this stage, we are talking about the special electoral college that will determine. Of course, I am confident and hopeful that there's other big names that have not even filed yet. I haven't seen, a number.
But the biggest is the vice president. You agree?
That couldn't be the biggest. And if you are looking at it
in terms of the
number, the numbers that they have, marshaled for the filing, that is not a big deal. Today, we were going to file on the quiet. But there were supporters, people who have the votes, who defied the early morning downpour to be present at the party headquarters on their own volition. Not even a single Uber or taxi was placed at the disposal of anybody. But you saw the trunk of, crowd that came to meet, doctors filing of nominations today. It was huge. We less, thought that could happen on people's own volition. More constituency chairmen, particularly from Greater Accra and nearby, constituencies, came to greet us in spite of the early morning downpour. That is indicative, and these are the people who have the votes. And those are the people we are counting at this stage.
Not the crowd.
Not the crowds in the streets, yeah.
Well, I understand that Dr. Kabiru Mahama, who's a technical advisor at the Office of the Vice President, is also joining the conversation. Dr. Mahama, you've heard the point. There are more and more people joining the race now. It's now 5. Are you still confident that that crowd you brought to the headquarters is an indication that your candidate is the best out of the names we're hearing of? Dr. Mahama, you'd have to unmute so we can hear the point you're making.
Yeah, so good afternoon, and good afternoon to my colleague in your studio from the camp of Dr. Akoto. Like I mentioned, the Vice President is a Democrat, in fact, a liberal Democrat for that matter. He believes in competition, and before he even filed, his view is that 11 people, 10 other people are going to file with him. If at the end of the day we don't get the 10 other people filing with him, the better. However, the number of people filing is not something that worries the Vice President. He's focused on the campaign, and he's been on the tour after the submission, and that has not changed anything. The confidence that we will win the election is still intact.
But then now you see the caliber of people who are joining. For instance, Dr. Akoto Ephraim, who was then the Minister for Agriculture. He was also serving on the economic management team. Don't forget that the Vice President lauded so much, indicating that the party has the men. If you have such an individual joining the race, that will be a force to contend with, isn't it?
The confidence of the Vice President or the team in the camp of the Vice President is not dependent on any one of single of them, because we have sized all of them. We know what they are capable of. We know their support base. The Vice President understands his support base as well. So their participation in the race is not something that scares us. Dr. Akoto is a man who has served the government well. He has served party well, and being part of the contest only makes it good. But that is not to say that Vice President team or campaign team would be shivering because we have the person of Dr. Akoto joining the race, or Alan Chairman, or for that matter, any other person.
I see. So there you have Dr. Kabir Mahama pointing out that, well, it's a good name, but they're not shivering at all. So what difference will Dr. Ephraim make in this race? Have you done some research? Because he was pointing out to the surveys as being fake, I recall.
We have looked at the caliber of persons who actually signed our nomination forms. We have increased crossing this country, but several last week. And when we picked our form last 3 weeks, we didn't just bus people to Accra to come and fill the forms. We went to all the 16 regions of this country, and the enthusiasm, the number of people who have been offering to be part of Dr. Akoto's campaign, the number of people who have offered to sign his nomination forms, but we could pick only 10 from a region. Okay. That is assuring, that is refreshing. The fact remains that we are working with targets. We know those who constitute the special, electoral college, and we have the numbers. That is what is giving us the confidence, and not the numbers in the streets.
And when you say that, it's still okay. It's a rhetoric. You're just putting that out there. There's no figure, no science to back it. I'm sure you've been carrying out your own scientific research, because Dr. Ephraim was pointing to the fact that the ones that are already out are not.
No, you have seen the controversy.
Are not scientific. Yes, that's why I'm.
We have a research faculty in the University of Ghana. Is there anything called research faculty in the University of Ghana?
The university. It's not yet out in its official position. I get that. But what's your research telling you?
Our research is telling us that we have the numbers.
Yeah, but you have the numbers. Are you sure you'd win?
Very. Because our strategy is to surprise the party at the special delegate conference, and then we will erupt. Then the numbers games will begin. We can bus thousands of people to Accra today, but that is not our target for now, because there's a danger in that one, and that is not what we want to do.
And the danger is?
The danger is when you continue to deceive yourself. That you have the numbers, and at the stage at which we are, it is not about everybody, but those who have the special casting, the special right to cast the vote as delegates. That is what we are looking at for now. It portrays danger for the party itself when we parade people,
And you keep stressing on that point. Is it the case that you have a feeling that some of the candidates have an upper hand in terms of incumbency advantage? Do you also share
there is no.
Are some candidates advantaged more
people
than the
definitely always take advantage of their offices and the incumbency, whatever you want to call it. Somebody was complaining the other time about the fact that the rally was held at the party. I don't see anything wrong with that. Right. Because today, after filing, we took advantage of the party's conference room to address the media.
Right.
We have done so. We are not scared, but everybody has his own approach to the campaign. The strategies differ. That is the point. The strategies differ. We are working with targets. This is the stage we are. Especially, we are pretty sure that we are going to have more than 5 people. So when we scale through the stage 1, okay, where we are sure to be among at least the first 2 or first 3, then we will erupt from there.
So you're not confident of being number 1, at least first 2. That's your target.
That is the scientific thing. We want to be very scientific. We are being very scientific.
And the first will be the vice president?
The vice president, first or second. We could be first,
and then your candidate counts.
Yes.
So Dr. Akoto may not necessarily win the elections.
Not necessarily. In what terms? There is 2-tier. The psychology of the larger number is different from the psychology of the smaller number. And there is a reason why.
All you're seeking for is to cross, first of all, the special delegates
conference with a good showing. Then you can boost people's confidence. Then people can begin to understand that all they have seen in terms of numbers do not matter at this stage. That is the point.
Dr. Kabir Mahama, the point about the numbers, did you bus all these people there? And, there are questions as to how maybe the vice president is using his office to take advantage of the internal race. Why not have a playing field?
I think that, when Alan Chairman Tim filed, a number of people followed, no one asked where he got the people from. When the vice president is filing and there was an eruption of the grassroots, there was a massive, the euphoria was so high and people came across the country, even from the diaspora, to support the vice president. People are raising questions. And for me, I understand because if you are in a competition and your rival or your competitor seems to have some advantage by way of numbers, by way of sheer number of MPs who are supporting your rival, you have concerns. But listen, this is a contest. And a contest, a vice president, let's even assume he has decided to pass people to the ground. What prevents other candidates from doing that, So, someone's strategy should not be your concern. How do you also be able to how are you able to send a signal to the people to know that look, they are in support of you? So,
but are you even sure? Are you even sure these numbers matter to the special delegates conference, first of all, and also the larger group of the delegates will be electing? They would have the voting rights to decide who becomes the leader.
My brother, you'll be a political neophyte to think that 120 parliamentarians supporting you doesn't mean anything. You'll be tickling yourself and be laughing at you at the wrong side of your mouth if you think that members of the diaspora boarding their own ticket, coming all the way, coming to support the process, doesn't mean anything for the contest. You'll be tickling yourself if constituency election, executives, area coordinators, police executives, whom you people interviewed at the ground, then they declare their support for the vice president, you think they don't matter, then you are not in the contest. Okay? So, the numbers matter. The caliber of the numbers matter. The characteristics of the people behind you, they all matter in an election. So, anyone thinking that the numbers don't matter and they are doing targeting, I'm sure that is their own strategy. We don't have any right to question their strategy. But I think
so that strategy doesn't make us neophytes. We are not neophytes.
Right.
It is rather a neophyte who will think that at this stage you could bring everybody from the streets, to shout at party headquarters, and that will translate into votes.
Your point is that these people do not
matter at this stage. That is the point. We are not concerned about the numbers anyway. Our camp is not concerned about those numbers. We are not concerned about those numbers. Our strategy is to work towards targets. And when it comes to numbers, we will get there. And we'll see whether we'll be able to mobilize the numbers or not.
Okay, that's why I said that it is their strategy.
Yeah, that's strategy, but not being a neophyte. We are not neophytes. Because only a neophyte to think that because the person is a vice president, he will win. We have had a vice president in a contest before, 2008. There was a vice president in a contest. We have seen people who were whipped into line. We have seen all of those things before.
You're also here to check cars.
Dr. Mahama? Dr. Mahama? Okay. Looks like we've lost. Dr. Mahama, are you still there with us?
I'm with you.
Yes.
So
we lost you briefly.
The point I'm making is that the vice president filed his nomination. The numbers that came to support the vice president is important. The vice president was mindful of the fact that we have a special delegates conference that will probably come on before the main delegate conference. The vice president coming to file his nomination form with the support of majority of members of the caucus of parliament being behind him. They all matter.
That is his emphasis. That is his emphasis on the MPs.
These are the people
who will constitute the entire
who will anyway vote in the special delegate conference. And people are being moderate. It's okay. I mean, when you listen to him, he's basically trying to say that we are praying to be part of the first five, which is okay. You can be, some people will not do anything and still be part of the first five, because at the end of the day, the majority of the voters, I mean, if three people work hard and the third person just only put the hand on the track will move anyway.
Okay. So here's the case. Since you're talking about the five, we know that that's all we have for now. So granted, there won't be any special Congress, but the likelihood of a sixth person joining the race is high. Yes, six or more, right? So if that happens, are you still confident? Would you want the special delegates conference approach? Because many are praying that you avoid that.
Look, the special delegates conference is a constitutional provision, right? I would be happy, and many of the candidates who have filed their nomination would be happy that we don't go to the situation where we will have a special delegate conference. There are a lot of energies will be expended, a lot of salvados will be thrown, and some people will not be able to contain the momentum, the heat of the campaign, and their words and utterances could jeopardize the whole campaign. So those of us on this side, we believe that, look, we can avoid unnecessary drama, we can avoid unnecessary, internal rivalry if we are able to do our special delegate conference. But that said, if many people are expressing interest, if more than 5 people have expressed interest, Democrats as we are, liberal Democrats as we are, the Constitution provides that.
Okay.
Article 12 of the Constitution states that we must go for a special delegate conference, and we are ready and we are prepared to have that.
Okay then. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
There'll be no winners. Even though there'll be losers, there'll be no winners in the special delegate conference. So that is just to see the numbers. Okay? The main contest is the national one that will take place in November.
I mean, what's your candidate bringing on board, Dr. Ephraim, for many who do not know about him and how well known he is within the NPP?
Yeah.
What can you say about him?
He's well known within the party itself. Probably he's not made so much noise.
Are you certain about that? Because we hear all the names around.
He's among the candidates. He's the most approachable. He's one person that most party people, serious party people, can relate with. I have accompanied him to several places, including Parliament, last week. Okay? He's approachable and had been doing his work on the quiet. So when the records come out, like we have filed, then the party will have the people.
What's at stake in the party? I'm asking that because many candidates have campaigned to say, okay, I did this for the party. I supported the NPP this way.
His background is okay. Is NPP, is our tradition. His father is one of those founders of our tradition.
Bafo
Akoto.
Right.
Okay? Then beyond that, as an individual, he's been a member of parliament. He's, been a ranking member on the Food and Agriculture Committee of Parliament and all of that. He's been the chairman of the Manifesto Committee of the, that brought us to power. And all of that. He's an agricultural economist, a member of the economic management team. So he has a very strong background. And his vision, this two-front vision, one is for the party, one is for the nation. The one for the party is to build a strong, vibrant, independent, financially independent party. A party that can stand on its own, whether in government or in opposition.
Okay.
That is
the party's message.
The party's vision. And he's been driven. I mean, that division has been driven. You know, he's bid for this. Then the things that we have the comparative advantage as far as agriculture is concerned. He said that we haven't even scratched the surface of the advantages that agriculture holds for this country. If cocoa, being that was brought to this country in somebody's pocket, will have become the mainstay of our economy, then what about other tree crops, something like rubber, that will give us more? Yeah. Okay, we haven't given it the necessary attention. We haven't given it the public resource commitment.
But while you're doing all of this, I hope that as a campaign, you're mindful of the fact that you have an opposition party that had a relatively smoother role in picking their next leader. They are far ahead of you in terms of selecting a candidate. You do not want to drag the process by bringing on board very big names that like Dr. Akoto, who may have an impact on the elections. That will further delay your chances as a political party to quickly reorganize and get a candidate. Don't you think so?
The farmers in this country identify more with Dr. Akoto than anybody else. And when you hear all other candidates speak, whether it's the opposition candidate or our party candidates, they will talk about agricultural revolution. But the one who has the background, the right mix, the exposure, the experience, okay, to lead that agricultural revolution is Dr. Akoto. He has the background. He has the mix.
All right.
The experience. He understands the science and the data as far as agriculture, unlocking our prosperity, and using agriculture to finance our development, our education. Cocoa money brought education to Ghana. So rubber can give us more than cocoa. And all other tree crops that is successfully established, an authority to manage. That is exactly what we are talking about.
All right.
And his investments will soon begin to show.
And we'll see that when the race starts.
Of course.
We're grateful, Chairman Kenwood, for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
On
Once
the
again.
Pulse. Thank you. Well, let's stay on politics because the National Democratic Congress is candidate in the Asin North by-election. James Kwesi has described the schedule of hearings into the criminal case against him as a ploy by the executives and also the governing party to intimidate him. On February 12, 2022, the state charged Mr. Kwesi with 5 counts of deceit of a public officer, forgery of a passport, and knowingly making a false statutory declaration, perjury and false declaration. The court, presided by Justice Mary Yazu, has announced that the case will be heard on a day-to-day basis beginning Tuesday, June 20. Reacting to the latest twist of events, James Kwesi says the development does not scare him.
I said it. Even they want to give me a bedroom in the court, Asin will still wait for me. If they want me to see me in court every hour, which means I can't leave, they should give me a chamber to sleep there. I'm still going to stand strong and tall and fight for my people. So for JM and Mahama and those guys, they all understand. They all understand what I want to do for Asin and what I want to do for Ghana. Why are we frustrating our own kind? Say
27th.
Dakra to a background by a man cocoa, mentor was saying. Pull in a yes at the time. How many pana I found on to Abamano? Need your question to Abamama. Before I ever start voting, Crano, before I ever start voting, the crime leading one vote. And then the chair said, medical to Mamma, what I say, or not to man. And ya dear Hammy, almost diet to a background near Family Court. The court is so quite the whole day now. Some Yamakas have been now the whole day, so I know be not for you cover cramo. So I say, see a schedule time I'll 11 to 1. Mafia and Makanopa, me bar Mesabe, and that's some buy, me sack 5 communities. You know what I mean? Because they mean a lot to me. Let that not me buy me for 5 communities. Yes. Your question. Vision I'm in Canada me buy 3 years ago no. And one of them true. And nothing can change it. The only time I bet me as someone I seen now people say they are taking their mandate away from me. Omaka say, Papa, I fed the abreo. My job is done. But so long as they stand behind me, I'll never relent. And then the Omopebi in Canada, me call community be bear na 11. We drew I'm surprised I'm a bit draw. Omo buy omo say Oko court yachiwa to Mumba. I'm in Jirahe.
And that's a confident James Jachi Kwesing indicating that he will not be perturbed by the case in court and also affirming that he has a vision for the people of Asin North and once he gets re-elected, that's the plan he will execute after relocating and reintegrating from Canada into the Ghanaian community. Yesterday, the youth of Daboya in the Savannah region poured onto the streets demanding the removal of police personnel deployed there to maintain law and order. The anger follows what they say is the abuse of some 6 persons who were arrested by the police following the violent clashes in the Lukula area earlier this month. Correspondent Isaac Nonya has more and is joining us via Zoom. Thank you, Isaac, for your time. First of all, what specific concerns led to this protest as we know it? Isaac, if you can hear me, I'm just asking about the specific issues that led to this protest. And kindly unmute for me so I can get the point you're saying. We seem not to have Isaac on with us. There's more in this report.